Hello, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. We're here. We're back at it again, and we're going to get on into it. But before we do, as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And with that being said, here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Organic herbs and botanicals, skincare and edibles, wellness for body and mind. The Brothers Apothecary. Fine teas and remedies. Ronald Records. From indie gems to classic hits, discover the heart of local music. With live shows all the time, up close and personal, and regular releases on their in-house label. Ronald Records. Supporting the community, one track at a time.
All right. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, shout out The Brothers Apothecary, Ronald Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. With that being said, let's go ahead and get on into it. Here is today's guest.
Hi, I'm Spacey Nicks.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, who you are, where you're from, what you do, give us that Tinder profile of your involvement with music.
Yeah, I grew up here in Oregon, born in Portland, raised in Corvallis pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. Supersonic space witch. That's how I describe myself.
Oh yeah, I dig that. And what got you started in music initially?
Oh, I don't know. Just my whole life, I've always sang, And then as I got older, like middle school, high school, I started to play guitar. I started to teach myself guitar, actually.
Oh, cool.
Because my mom, we didn't want to pay for lessons, basically. And so I got a shitty guitar I got a bad guitar from Costco, and I still have it, actually. I need to restring it. But
okay. Yeah,
I've just been making music my whole life. When I got into my 20s, I started to produce electronically. It's funny because I think Doja Cat actually shared that her first MIDI was from her boyfriend. Actually, same. It was a gift, and I just started playing around with it, and I was really good.
Hell yeah. Yeah. I dig that. Yeah. And was anybody else in your household or your near family musical at all growing up?
My mom played the flute growing up, but it was kind of just more like it was just something she did as an extracurricular. She's a good singer. My dad's he can carry a tune. He's got a nice belt, but no, honestly, actually, not me forgetting my extended family. I have obviously the extended family is just, it's complicated anyways, but I have a great uncle who has since passed on, Brent Averill. He actually was the creator of an audio equipment company.
Oh, cool.
And he was a sound designer for Michael Jackson, for Toto, for a lot of big new wave and pop artists. But I didn't really know him. Yeah. He lived in LA and we didn't have much of a relationship. So I would say the proclivity to have I have misophonia, I have sound sensitivity. Mm-hmm. I like to create. And so those two things just coalesce.
Hell yeah. Well, hey, it's cool to still be the immediate first generation in your core circle.
Yeah.
And then before we get into more of what you do in the present day, I do have a couple of foundation questions I like to check in with everybody on.
Yeah, for sure.
And this first one is one we ask early. It's one we ask often, and it's definitely a crowd favorite. What was the first album you ever bought with your own money?
Oh my God. That's a really good question. I feel like it was probably a One Direction album because I used to be obsessed with them,
who wasn't?
I was a stan girl, but to be honest, it might have been just something random on my iPod Nano, and I'm trying to just remember Oh, I'm just gonna say One Direction album. I'm sorry.
That is all right. Hey, you don't have to apologize. You would be surprised how often that is the answer. So I could dig that. And then what was one of the first live shows you ever went to? That was like specifically one you wanted to go to.
Oh, actually, I had this friend who, she was like low-key rich, and she would bring me to concerts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember which one came first. I think she took me to Lana. She took me to Tyler, the Creator.
Whoa.
And Tyler, the Creator, I would say, I think was the first one and was definitely my favorite. But like, it was kind of scary. Like, I was like 15, like doing way too much, wearing way too little to be out doing like with no supervision. But, it was fun. I felt very like rebellious, and I think he flipped me off. I think Tyler the Creator like flipped me off, which I thought was really I thought that was cool.
Yeah, hey, that's on brand.
Like Regina punched me in the face. It was awesome. Yeah,
hell yeah. Well, I mean, I'm a big Tyler the Creator fan, so I imagine that was a phenomenal experience in its own right.
Yeah.
Do you remember like around what like album era that was?
Controversial, but the Cherry Bomb era. I know a lot of people didn't like it, and to be honest, like I still have a fondness for it, like for its like angst. I feel like it came out when I was 15, so it was a perfect album for that.
I don't think it was so much meant to be liked. You know what I mean? Like, not that he made it because he wanted people to hate it, but I don't think he made it going, this is the one that's going to grab everybody.
That's so true. He was like, Flower Boy's in my back pocket.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going there right now.
Well, even then, like, he has always lived so, like, forwardly in his music. So, like, his music is always really indicative of his time in real time.
Yeah, totally.
The time that it comes out. But we're not here to talk about
I know.
You. So before we officially get into you in the present day, do you have a defining moment where you decided you wanted to take music more seriously?
Honestly, I think I was sitting in the kitchen. This was like, honestly, when I was on the fritz with the last guy I dated, and we got an apartment together, and I was kind of just like producing out loud in the living space. And I was like trying to get these two clips to link up to sound right. And I knew that in my head that if I just got the spacing right, that it was going to just like fall into place. And he just kept being like, I think you should just restart like the clip, like just redo it. It's a MIDI. You can just, and then once I got it to click in place, he was like, oh shit, that's actually, I'm sorry, I keep cursing.
No, you're fine.
Oh my gosh, that's like, and he was kind of taken aback. And I think that was so poignant to me because he was a bit older, like not aggressively so. Just, I was 20, he was 25. So I'm 25 now. The idea of me dating a 20-year-old, 19-year-old, not really in my realm. But, and so it was just kind of, it just kind of became this defining moment of like, I can do it. And yeah, so I don't know. Like I've really been good at talking myself out of stuff a lot. And same with STEM, I'm starting to pursue like a STEM degree on the side. And I never even believed that I could do that. So I don't know. I just got to a point in my young adulthood life where I was like, I can keep telling myself this and feeling like I'm never going to do anything, or that I'm just like, I can keep protecting myself from the fear of rejection and failure, or I can do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, long answer.
No, that I think it's a really interesting one because it wasn't some like massive, giant, explosive moment. It was just the moving of a small piece until it fit perfectly.
Yeah. And
like the knowledge that you knew it was right and then it was.
Yeah.
And those small moments can sometimes be the most integral.
Right.
Like I don't talk about the show a lot on the show, but my defining moment for when I knew I was going to do this was just a random episode in the 200s. I was up until like 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Because I just couldn't get it to work right. And in that moment, I was like, I know I should hate this. Like, I have to be at work in like 4.5 hours. I have to like, this isn't working. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I didn't even eat dinner. And the only thought I had in my head was, I just have to get this done. There's no challenging it. There was no, well, what if there was no maybes. There was just, this has to get done.
Yeah.
And it got done. The episode came out.
Yeah.
And that was the moment where I was like, all right, this is it.
That's how I feel about trying to, make songs while going to school full time.
Yeah.
It's definitely been like, people are like, when are you going to release next? I'm like, I have a bunch of stuff just sitting that just needs finishing touches.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's hard, like just trying to find time that doesn't eat into your sleep schedule. I feel like I could talk about
I was going to say, I haven't slept in years. So, but that was long before I did this. I'm just terrible at sleeping. But neither here nor there, not trying to talk about me more. Let's go ahead and get on into you in the present day.
Yeah.
We are going to get a super easy one out of the way.
Okay.
How'd you pick the name?
Oh, yeah. So this was a recent name change. I used to be named Pseudo Nymph.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy way to like introduce yourself to people who've been drinking and, like venues. So recently I was like, I'm just not like, I like the eclectic nature of this name. It's just not going to get me anywhere. And to be fair, it was like kind of a ripoff from Flying Lotus. He has a song called Dance of the Pseudo Nymph. I wouldn't say it's a ripoff. Inspired.
Yes.
I made it into one word. But yeah, I have a deep love for like pretty much a lot of the Brain Feeder Records artists. So it was an homage to that. But Spacey Nicks is kind of more just an homage to the sounds I've been working on and creating up until this point. And the sounds that I eventually want to delve into. Like I have done a lot of hip hop and rap recently. I kind of want to take a look back at my roots of grunge and blues and, the guitar that I grew up playing. And I'm thinking about doing a cover of West Coast by Lana Del Rey. I think that would be really cool. So I definitely like to... I love the, I guess the movement of, Generation Z of genre mashing and just making things new from two different synthesized genres, because I think you can just do so much with that. And also just noticing like crossover between audiences. Like I notice there's a lot of crossover between people who listen to grunge and some people who listen to like alternative hip hop or rap. And they're going for like a specific kind of edgy sound. And so I also like that. And I just kind of want to find a way to make it all come together.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that. But just to clarify, how did you pick Spacey Nicks specifically?
Yeah, I guess I didn't really say that. Well, I mean, from the idea of like the fact that I could be expansive with my genre, it's spacey, I think I have so much going on in my life. Sometimes I do tend to be a bit like spaced. I don't know, just like a lot of thoughts going through my head all the time. And then Nicks, like Stevie Nicks, I have an affinity for her. I grew up listening to Fleetwood Mac, and I grew up listening to a lot of different artists, but her especially. I also am just paying an homage to, like, as I mentioned earlier, like I don't want to say like, you know what, fine, I'm a witch. And it's not really in the sense that I'm casting spells and I'm going out of my way. I'm literally related to descendants from the Salem witch trials. So it's just kind of like I feel that I have a certain attitude and disposition that kind of goes against like what society wants of me. And that's just never going to change. And it's really just more in the fact of being like a neurodivergent woman of color. It's not really anything to do with, being a witch. But I feel empowered to just kind of call myself that because to this day, people still like react with a fear of it. Like I'm going to curse their firstborn and turn into, a dragon. It's funny. It's kind of funny to see like, to know who around me like would actually, I guess like be afraid of that. Cause it lets me know who I probably should avoid.
Wait, so you're saying you can't turn into a dragon?
Not yet. I have been like really trying. I've been trying. Yeah.
No, I appreciate that, and I think it's a cool name. Like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Like it's It's interesting. It's attention grabby. It's easy to spell.
Yeah.
I do this bit where I break down names. And so
literally.
it checks all the boxes. And when you search it, it's easy to find.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've already noticed like an improvement of engagement just by changing my name.
It can go a long way for sure. But now let's go ahead and let's talk about your writing process. And we're going to break it up into chunks, but we're going to start right at the beginning.
Okay.
So when you get inspired, you're ready to make music. What are some of the things you do to get a track started?
I mean, it is very in the moment, and it kind of is informed by the distress of my life, or I guess like the excitement. I think this is something I've been thinking about recently, is that I feel like a lot of my inspiration has been more negatively focused or about some sort of like failed situationship, like kind of the Taylor arc. I don't want that. I don't want all my songs to be about heartbreak. So I don't know. It's honestly, it's when I feel like I need to say something and I want to say it in the best way I know how, which is to make a song. Yeah.
So do you just like wait until you have like moments of like strong feelings, or like what? I guess I mean, I'm not good with words or like capturing those moments. So I'm always curious.
Honestly, yes. But I think also I get kind of more whimsical with the writing process, or at least I've been trying to just not take it as seriously, to be like, I want to write a song about, I don't know. I guess I haven't been good about that, but I've been thinking about it more, just the idea of maybe taking more humor or just a lighthearted air to some of my writing. But I would say most of them are like personal encounters, just because I have multiple neurodivergencies, and I just run into a lot of like situations with people that are unique. And like, for example, the song Delusional, I don't know if you've heard that one. It basically goes into like a failed situationship of somebody who, I'm using all these buzzwords, situationship, somebody who love bombed me. They literally would try and say like, I love you, like through texting straight off the bat. It was odd. And I guess, we hooked up on New Year's Eve, and then after that, it was like they became a ghost. And then 6 months later, they got married to an older woman. And they had mentioned this older woman before we hooked up, and I was just kind of like, I don't know what's going on with that, but I thought something different here was happening. And so that's basically what the track Delusional is about. And it's just kind of wild, to be pulled into a situation where you feel like you're the bad guy, but you've been getting all these different messages. And it just in the end to kind of feel like you've been used, it's not great. It pushed me to a point of like, I have to write about this to deal with it. I don't know. I've thought about like writing, a whimsical rap song about being a woman in STEM, something silly. But I don't know. I gotta be honest. To be honest, like I'm constantly having to prove myself in every aspect of my life. So there's a lot you can write about that.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
And when you get into one of those spaces where you are ready to write something, like how do you approach sitting down and like going about it? Do you like make beats first? Do you do words first? Like what did the steps look like from that point?
Honestly, it usually comes from like a line that I think of in the head, and it's got like a melody behind it. And I'm like, I gotta remember if it comes as like a song idea where it's like a tune and there's lyrics behind it. Sometimes I just have to like take a voice note of the melody that is in my head. Sometimes melody with lyrics, and then sometimes I will review that melody from the voice note later and then start writing in my iPhone notes. It kind of, it's pretty, I don't know what the word would be, open-ended. Just because I used to write a lot in journals. I would write a lot of poetry growing up. And yeah, so I kind of just keep the medium constantly shifting and changing. But I would like to get them all like compiled into like Google Docs or something.
Yeah. There was somebody who they used to like write on whatever, I forget who it was that said this, but somebody on the past episode said that they would just write things down, like wherever they, like kind of wherever they could.
Yeah.
They eventually got like, like Surface pens and like things like that. And like but then they would go and they would transfer it all to one book. And it wasn't cohesive. Like it was just every line that they thought of, they would put it in this book. And then through time, they would go, when they wanted to write music, they would go to the book and just skim through the lines. And when they found a line to use and put in a song, they would cross it out.
Yeah.
So that it had been removed from the book. But it was an interesting way that they like just compiled all these random thoughts into a singular space to pull from later.
Right. Yeah. No, I definitely, excuse me. I have, times where maybe a verse or a stanza goes better in another song or over another beat. And I definitely splice my songs, but it has to be thematic or I have to make it work. Yeah.
And as far as like once aside from the words part of it, it sounds like you do a lot of the production and things all on your own end.
All of it.
How do you go about that? And also, what DAW do you use?
I use Logic. I've had like a lot of grappling between Ableton and Logic. Actually, the one song that I created, "What You Want," is made by the free version of Ableton. But most of my songs are Logic. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, we're gonna Photoshop in that you said Ableton every time. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. No.
Ableton.
There we go. Thanks for giving us a couple extra ones to clip in. No. No. I mean, I think it's really cool. So when it comes to like the creation process, are you like a lot of plugins? Do you like try and find like obscure things to use sounds for?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of like Lander. They have like a lot of free samples and stuff, but I don't know. It's also, I mean, most of it I would say is just purely like the plugins that I get. Although I do have a beef with a lot of Logic plugins. I feel like they're very tinny and canned and just sound like they're wrapped in plastic in a way that I can't really describe. And so I've definitely tried to become a lot more experimental with the sidechain usage and different effects that I can apply to each track, just to get it to a sound that I want. I actually don't really like when a song is super overproduced. I think it loses a bit of its charm. But at the same time, I've put out some stuff that's like really, really muddy. So we're trying to find a balance there.
No, and it's kind of a never-ending journey, especially when you are on the hunt to do it yourself, as well as like be the person writing the music, be the person producing the music, be the person mixing the music. There's so many different hats that at a certain point, like you almost have to like do that part of this process for the song, leave it alone for like a month and a half, pick it up, mix it, leave it alone for a month and a half, come back, revise it. Like,
oh my gosh, not you clocking my tea.
No, trust me, I'm very familiar with those steps.
Yeah.
But I actually, we're going to go ahead and we're going to kind of segue into some of your current music.
Okay.
So I jumped on ye old Spotify and, respectfully, you only have the one track under the main name at the moment. But I saw on your Instagram that you did have a previous name. So I did go back and check some of that out as well. And one thing that I think is really cool is that I put the phrase here, interestingly chaotic.
Yeah.
It's very like evocative. It's super textured. It's like somewhat avant-garde even, but it's
thank you.
Like the imagery is there. That's the thing that I think stands out the most, is that it's a very visual sound, and I don't quite know how better to describe that. But
thank you.
It's got these layers to it, and there is a lot of intention behind it. And your old music does translate well, or your previous name music, I should say, does translate well into your most recent track, Price of Power.
Yeah,
which just came out in April. And it's
actually September. It actually came out pretty recently.
Oh no, I wrote the wrong date on my
thing. That's okay.
Here.
That's okay.
But it's a cool track. It's very it's dreamy, it's synthy, it's very layered.
Thank you.
And the percussion elements are really cool.
That stands
out to me a lot. And it's not a short track. Like 5 minutes and 12 seconds. That's a good chunk of music.
Yeah, it's got a little like extra song at the end that used to be just called Deeper, but then I thought that title was kind of like I thought it was kind of dumb, so I just tacked it on the end.
That's fair. And actually, I had a note about that part in particular because it jumped out at me. It had this different feel to it, but it was really cool. And I'm just placing this here for later. It reminded me of this track called New Dorp, New York by Subtract featuring Ezra Koenig.
Oh, okay. I have to check that
It is
now.
like the second I heard it, I was like, this.
Write that down.
It'll be in your episode. It'll be here. It'll be here when you watch it later.
Right.
But it had this really cool, like I appreciated the shift in energy.
Yeah,
because by that point, like it had kind of, I wouldn't say it settled, but you had gotten this element, but the like almost the name of the track even kind of insinuated the change really well.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was just my observations of it.
I appreciate it.
But I am curious to know, because I was going to ask why it was the second half a little more, or that last bit a little more prominent, but since you already answered it, I am more curious to know now, what are some of your favorite tracks of yours?
That's a good question. I feel proud of the lyrical work I did on Price of Power. I feel proud of Delusional, like just from the emotional place that I came from and the release it gave me. And I don't know, those two are great. Also, You See It. I think You See It is a great one because it's just very classic lo-fi, Portland dream pop. I thought it was a really nice way for me to I guess like say to myself, like, you can do this, and kind of just to remind myself that I see it within myself to make things happen, to make anything happen. I think like pretty soon after, like, I don't know, I want to say like 16, 17 years old, I kind of realized that like I was limiting myself, and I became more aware of that, and I still struggle with it today. But I don't know, it's been this slow chrysalis, I would say, of just breaking out of this shell. Yeah, sorry, I kind of lost the point.
No, those were all super solid answers.
Thanks.
And now I want to change the focus and look at music you haven't put out yet.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're sitting on a small mountain of it.
Yeah.
But I am curious, what are some of the things we can look forward to with new music you're working on and what's coming out next?
Yeah, definitely what I alluded to earlier with like just more grunge focus, more alternative rock, more alternative pop. I'm just gonna be honest about like the artists that I had an affinity to growing up. Because while I have listened to a lot of hip hop and rap, I also grew up like listening to a lot of Lana Del Rey, and which I know she has her hip hop moments, but anyways, I grew up listening to a lot of like feminine, alternative, I would say like borderline poppy music. Also punk. I am trying to get more into just more of like I don't know, like gutter punk type, maybe an electronic punk vibe. I don't know if you know the artist Girl Pusher. Yeah, I love Girl Pusher. I've actually I annoy the shit out of them, just DMing them a lot, being like, oh my gosh, you should release this. Wow. And I know that I look like such a square, but anyways, I really am inspired by their sound. Honestly, I just expect it to get grittier, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, definitely looking forward to that.
Yeah.
Now I want to take a moment. I want to zoom out.
Okay.
Let's look at kind of music as a whole. What are some of the things about either new music in general, if you're one of those people that's always taken in new music, or at the very least music that's new to you that you found recently that you enjoy and you're finding inspiration in at the moment?
Yeah, I was actually just joking with my friend Kaya about this, but I've really gotten into Deftones. I caved.
Okay.
So many of my friends listen to Deftones, and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna start listening to them. And I don't know why it's taken me so long. It would have been great for me in high school. I've rediscovered, my love for just a lot of artists, growing up. But recently, I love Doechii.
Mhm.
I absolutely adore what she's been doing. Her wordplay and her choice of production. I think it's really, really cutting edge. I don't know. Sometimes I do feel like I kind of stick to like similar artists just to like regulate myself. I listen to a lot of Boards of Canada, and so that's not really new to me, but I listen to it a lot because it's like lyricless, just like vibey synth that makes me feel calm and helps me study. Newer artists, I feel like dang, this is embarrassing.
Well, yeah, not so much newer artists in the realm of they putting out stuff now, but like just stuff that you've found recently.
No, yeah. Let me look at my can I look at my
Go for it.
Apple? Because I feel like I have been listening to just a lot of the same stuff that I do enjoy. I listen to a lot of like Doja Cat unreleased.
Okay.
She has some of like unreleased songs that are like Wrong Queen. I love that song. Oh yeah, I found an artist that's kind of like Boards of Canada, but I've never heard of them before. They're called Orange Crush. They have like this one song.
Oh, I don't know if you can play it on here.
Sorry, yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, YouTube.
No, yeah, sorry. Anyways, but yeah,
yeah, no, I mean those are all super solid names, and more just I was kind of curious like how things were inspiring you. It sounds like we kind of got through that.
Yeah.
Also, Orange Crush is a great name.
Yeah, he's
Kinda
cool.
like the Police. There's plenty of branding already out in place. They just have to make sure they're not holding it. Yeah. Now, before we get into the next portion, I've got one last question to go in this middle part, and it's probably the densest question in the interview.
Okay.
But we've talked a lot about your experience with music, the actions, the reactions.
Yeah.
But when it's just you and music, one-on-one, what does music give back to you?
Power and confidence and the ability to feel like I can make sense of my thoughts and emotions. It's there's a reason that music therapy exists, and I think that there's a lot of people that decide to create because they want to reach an audience, and I definitely do. But first, it's about what I want to hear, and sometimes like you just kind of have to give yourself that through a song.
Oh yeah, that was a very cool answer. I asked that question a lot, but I don't know that I've often or ever gotten the answer as power. Like it's always some form of like comfort or like escape.
Yeah.
But like the ability to like rise because of music.
Yeah.
The way to find strength within it is a really cool like experience. So thank you for sharing that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
But now let's go ahead and we're going to move on to some hypothetical questions.
Oh.
And for these, sky's the limits. The questions are all made up, so the answers are allowed to be as well. But this first one's pretty straightforward.
Okay.
If you could work with any one person, the only requirement is they have to be alive. Who would you want to work with, and how would you want to work with them?
Honestly, because she seems to be the queen of random collabs, Charlie. I think Charlie.
Okay, hell yeah.
Charlie.
Hell yeah.
I mean, just because. Yeah, I've been really into electronica for a long time, and I really like. Oh, you know what? I was also thinking about Aphex Twin, but
Okay.
sorry, I'm going all over the place.
No, those are both super solid answers.
Yeah. I just think a really good electronic producer.
Wait, have they ever made a track together?
No, but they should, because honestly, like, I do think that Brat, like some elements of Brat was reminding me of like Window Liquor. Like, definitely.
Okay, well, everybody, at them in the comments. Let's see if we can make that happen. And then subsequently, who's a local artist that you're aware of that you haven't gotten to connect with yet, but you would like to?
See, now I'm friends with Eris. We have something in the works.
Eris Moon.
There's a lot. There's a lot because Honestly, recently I was at Not Street Collective and Clue, the R&B, the R&B artist.
Yeah.
Fantastic vocalist. And there were so many artists that night that were like just fantastic. They didn't need the microphone. Like genuinely, they were just so powerful and their voices could just carry. And I definitely would like to get, I think a smoking habit and my own ducks in a row before like collabing with someone of that caliber. But I definitely have like a heavy respect for his work and, just vocal technique for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Everybody, you know what to do. Let them in the comment as well. Let's see if we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And then for this next one, like I said before, sky's the limit, and it's pretty literal in this sense. But if you could perform anywhere in the world, you wouldn't have to worry about crowd access or building stability or power. It's guaranteed the best lineup, guaranteed the best show. It doesn't have to be a venue. It could be anywhere. Where would you want to perform?
I'm really thinking. Honestly, probably like New York City, Park Square, or like somewhere out in the open. I actually really like outdoor concerts because, like it doesn't matter how cold it is outside, I'm gonna get sweaty during my performance.
Fair. Fair. And the cold weather almost makes it easier to not get as sweaty.
Yeah, and I don't know, maybe there's like not as much commitment. Like if somebody like really, you can make space for people, like a moving audience of sorts. I think that concept's really cool. Yeah, I've honestly never had the confidence to do any busking. That is something that I like grew up around, saw. I lived in Ashland for a little bit. It was really popular there.
Yeah.
Actually, no, I did busk. I'm lying. I blocked it out of my memory because it was like I was going through something, I think. Anyways.
Yeah, no, I could never do it. I've been on stage many times. I could never just go out in public and be like, listen to me make music.
Yeah.
It's an interesting experience in its own right. But also, there is, I was telling this to somebody else on another, I think they do like a music in the park.
Oh, yeah.
Like a big event in New York. They do one in San Francisco as well, I think.
Oh, okay.
But it's like an actual concert.
Yeah, like a little mini music festival.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so
that's cool.
Maybe you could get on that one day. Yeah.
Maybe.
And then to wrap up the hypothetical questions, if you could get one more album from anybody, they could be alive, they could be dead, they could have not put out an album in 100 years, they could have put out an album yesterday. Who would you want an album from?
My God. I could be like basic and just be like Rihanna, but everybody says that.
Oh, I don't think anybody's ever said Rihanna.
Well, first of all,
now I'm Rolodexing as hard as I can. I don't think I've ever gotten anybody say Rihanna to that answer.
That's crazy because that's like the first one that comes to mind, just on like a pop culture level. But maybe on more an obscure level. Honestly, Girl Pusher. I want to hear more from y'all. If you've released something, I haven't seen it yet. So, I hope that I'm not embarrassing myself, but
even if they did, you can still want more.
Yeah.
I want more Tyler, the Creator.
Yeah.
You can put out an album tomorrow.
Yes.
I still want more Tyler, the Creator.
That's so true.
Yeah. Even the artists who put out stuff frequently, give me more. That, and it's been said on the show a few times, but another Frank Ocean album.
Oh, of course. Why did I not think of that one?
Because it's been 1,000 years.
Yeah, that's true.
At this
I have the blonde poster though. I should have. Anyways.
Yeah. All right. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping this up.
Okay.
What can we look forward to between, let's say, now and August? Or I'm sorry, not August, April.
Hopefully more collaborations, new venues, and like I said, a switch to more of. I'll still be doing hip hop, and I'm going to be making kind of more of a grunge hop move. So yeah.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. Yeah. For this next one, go and look straight at the camera. Tell everybody how they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at Spacey Nicks, SPACEYNICKS. Yeah, all one. And from there, I have a link tree that you can find everything else.
Oh, yeah. And then any other plugs, any other shout outs, anybody else you'd like to put on while you're on here?
Oh yeah, I'll just mention I'm on all streaming platforms as well. Shout out to the Portland music community. Shout out to Jimmy for having me on. And yeah, shout out to Not Street Collective. I did their show recently and it's always a good time. So yeah.
Oh yeah. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah. Now with that being said, I've got one last question to go. But before we do, I'm going to steal the camera for just a second.
Okay.
As always, y'all, please make sure to like, subscribe, push all the buttons, do all the things. You know, I don't know where they are, but you do, and I trust you. And one more shout out to the Brothers Apothecary, Raw Records, and Portland Water. Thanks for keeping us hydrated. And with that being said, the final question. And this is entirely up to your interpretation.
Okay.
But in all of music, what is an album you feel is more on the obscure side? It's a deep cut. It's one not a lot of people would know, but it's one you think everybody should know.
You know, what I'd recommend, I don't even think exists anymore. It was called Bad Mooka, and they did like a little grunge blues, like funk almost thing. I think they changed their name to Rue de Guerre. I don't even know how to spell it. It's been that long. But I found that was just one of the like upcoming bands I found in like 2015 when I was just trying to realize like, where are all the bands? I was like, where are all the bands, dude? We just have Arctic Monkeys and that's it. Where are all the freaking bands? And so I tried looking for them and they were a band that I found. But yeah, I don't even know if they're still active anymore because it's been a while. So I'd also recommend Girl Pusher. They still like to run in the underground scene from what I know.
Oh yeah. Well, those are all solid recs.
Yeah.
Now I'm curious if I find it, I'll let you know.
Okay.
All right. But with that being said, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, my first podcast.
Yeah. And this has been another exciting episode of Jimmy's Jambox. I'm Jimmy.
I'm Spacey Nicks.
And we're signing off. Later, y'all.
Bye.
That's a wrap.
This is not a podcast. This is a show.
Keep jamming.